everyone's entitled to their own opinions, to their own reviews, to their own words. It's what makes this country honestly amazing. However, a lot of vloggers, YouTubers, automotive journalists helped in some ways kill off the Chevy Camaro. You know, I'm not saying all vloggers, all automotive journalists killed off the Camaro, but in a big part, they had a lot to do with it. So guys, let's talk about something that a lot of people don't talk about. Let me rewind it just a little bit. Guys, being a vlogger, being an automotive journalist, whatever you call yourself, is extremely difficult. You know, we grind here on YouTube and you don't make a whole lot of money doing it. You have to have a passion and love for the cars. But I want to rewind and just share a story of just kind of setting the foundation for this and why it matters. There's a lot of vloggers out there that follow suit with everybody else. They create the same titles that popular YouTubers do in videos in hopes that their channels grow. Truth about YouTube is there's a lot of YouTubers who have given up on just buying one car or a couple cars or changing their cars out. What you've seen with a lot of YouTubers today is they're reviewing all sorts of cars. Chevy, Dodge, Ford, all different makes and models, Kia, it doesn't matter, SUV, compact car. I can name a lot of channels that do it. And the reason they do that is because it gets views. If you stick with a certain car after a while, it gets stagnant. It really does, and I've seen it. Now, that's not why I change cars. I change cars because honestly, I want to try all the different cars out. But you've noticed a lot of main popular YouTubers switch from just being just one car, and that's what it is. They're reviewing all sorts of cars. But you know what the challenge is with that, guys? And the challenge that I have with some vloggers and automotive journalists, you're attaching terms to these cars without giving it enough time behind the wheel. You know, when the Camaro first came out, you know, you had Transformers, you had Jeff Gordon. We all know that Chevy has kind of also given up on the Camaro. They stopped marketing, they stopped talking about it. But from day one with the Camaro, I guarantee all of you will say, but the visibility is poor. The styling, it doesn't look retro like the old Camaro. It feels cramped, it feels like a cave, it feels dark. It is very futuristic. It's really different compared to every other car out there. And slowly but surely, everybody started using these same terms. Oh, the visibility is bad. Guys, I've made a video on it. The visibility in a Camaro is just fine. Adjust your mirrors properly, never have to worry about it. Like, it is a sports car. If you're buying a sports car, guess what's gonna be limited? Space, visibility. So stop complaining about it. But when these vloggers and everybody got out there, everybody stuck these words on Chevy and the Camaro. And over a while, it started to stick. And no matter how many iterations they've gone through of the Camaro, no matter how many changes that they've made, those things always stick with people. Now there's a saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity because you're getting your name out there. And I agree with that statement, but the challenge I have with that statement is if you're not doing anything to correct that from a brand in terms of marketing, in terms of correcting the positives with the car, then eventually everybody believes what that bad publicity is. So you have to have a counterattack to that. Yes, it gets views. Yes, it gets people excited. However, people will believe a story that only one person's telling and no one else is telling, meaning the brand isn't helping correct that story in terms of what actually is really good with the car. So everybody believes the bad. You know, for example, if I talked about the Mark 8 Volkswagen GTI or Golf R, what would you say the biggest drawback of it is? And I'm sure all of you know because you've seen the videos and you've seen hundreds of videos on it. It's the lack of buttons inside. I actually sat in the car. I didn't have a problem with it. But I also said in that review, I need more time with the car to give an honest opinion. And that's one of the biggest challenges I have today. I think in order to give any car a fair review, you need to live with it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, a couple months. Now, sometimes that's not realistic. Some automotive journalists do live with a car that long. I've seen Car and Driver have the Super for 20,000+ miles and do a review. That is helpful. That is good. That is a good review. But sitting in a car for 10 minutes and driving it around, it's not fair to give it a certain review without saying, hey, I need more time with it. But we all attach these words. They all follow the same pattern. Like if you go look at Mustang, the MT82, we tend to focus on the problems because there's two things that get attention. It's something really bad and really negative, and something new and exciting that nobody else knows about. And unfortunately, everybody focuses on the bad and the negative. And so my biggest beef is all of these vloggers and automotive enthusiasts are reviewing cars in an hour, in 30 minutes, in 20 minutes. They're not living with it. I guarantee if somebody lived with a Camaro, they wouldn't have the visibility issues that they so-called said they did when they came out. Now, it's truth to be told, yes, there's not as much physical like glass or where the roof line is, and I'm not just picking on that. But why don't they focus on a lot of the positives? I've owned all three of these cars behind me. Why don't they focus on it as the smoothest shifting car from a manual transmission out of all three, hands down? Challenger's a close second. Mustang's not even the conversation unless you get up to the Mach 1 or anything with a Tremec. Why don't they talk about that the Camaro is the best blend between the Mustang and Challenger? Why don't they talk about the Camaro was one of very few cars that started having a head-up display. Now it's common in a lot of cars. Ford didn't have that. Dodge didn't have that. To their credit, they did talk about the performance characteristics of the chassis, which is great. It has the best chassis. Like, it is amazing just how the car handles. And all of the options that it gives people to option these cars out with. Now, I'm not saying automotive journalists and vloggers completely killed off the Camaro, but they had a huge part into branding this car from the get-go. We all have a responsibility to these cars as content creators, that we need to do fair justice when we give cars a review. And that is the point that I want to drive home, because it's almost like gossip. It's almost like, telling a secret or telling a lie. It spreads and eventually it sticks, and it's hard to take that back.
I want you to go home, take a pillar up on your roof, cut it open with a knife, and return here to me. So the woman went home, took a pillow off her bed, a knife from the drawer, went up the fire escape to her roof, and stabbed the pillow. Then she went back to the old parish priest as instructed. "Did you gut the pillow with a knife?" he says. "Yes, Father." "And what was the result?" "Feathers," she said. "Feathers," he repeated. "Feathers everywhere, Father. Now, I want you to go back and gather up every last feather that flew out on the wind." "Well," she said, "it can't be done. I don't know where they went. The wind took them all over." "And that," said Father O'Rourke, "is gossip."